Right, this is probably going to be one of the most interesting videos personally for me and obviously people who are watching this video, because I used to own a letting/estate agent, which means, probably seen it from the title, are letting agents making the most out of their property portfolio for themselves and the landlords. And you know what, I'm actually quite coming through a journey myself of being an estate agent owner, doing the standard letting, then adding short-term rental into my portfolio as a rent-to-rent model, offering people different services within the part of what I call a unique model of letting agent. I today want to share some of the things, like a lot of people don't understand how letting agent works. You might be new to the industry, so you are trying to understand how people think about letting agents, what do they do, like how do they operate. So in this video I want to share a lot more about how letting agents work and how they're not, personally I don't think they're making the most out of property portfolio in their books, and it'll be quite interesting to see how you guys think. But for now, look, if you're new to this channel, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and let's carry on with the video. So firstly, what is a letting agent? Now obviously everywhere in the world, depending on the terms you use, a letting agent is someone who manages a property or buy-to-let property. A person who's bought the property obviously wants to let their property out as a standard let. Generally it's for family or a group of friends who want to let it out together. It could be students for the year, numbers of ways they can let out. But what happens is there's a market value rental they can achieve for a certain type of property, and what letting agent does is they actually obviously find the tenant, they manage the property and charges the landlord a certain fee to manage that property in X amount of time. Now, do you know what? Again, for a lot of people who follow me, who haven't known me for a long time, I'm going to share you a screen of a few shots of pictures when I used to own a letting agent and estate agent, and how much I enjoyed absolutely running and scaling it to the level it was at that time. So now if you think about, if you're looking to secure your first rent-to-rent property or rental arbitrage property, and you're going to work with letting agent, sometimes I find that a lot of investors don't actually understand what the letting agent has an agreement with the landlord. And eventually, if you've become a tenant before, or if you've ever worked a tenant, you'd understand kind of your relationship with the agent, but you'd kind of miss the opportunity about understanding the letting agent relationship with the landlord, and especially why there might be about 10 letting agent in that investment area, and why that landlord has chosen that specific letting agent. So numbers of things I want to share you right now, as you can see from my screen, is firstly, letting agent offers to manage properties on behalf of a private landlord. That's the first one. The second one, it helps, they basically help to ensure all the legal responsibilities, because sometimes people forget, owning property is one thing, making sure that legally everything's done correctly in behalf of tenant and stuff. The landlord might not have the tools and the knowledge behind it, so that's the second thing. Letting agent obviously do the rent collection, they collect the rent from the tenant and then pass it over to the landlord. They offer a full management, which is making sure they are looking after the property fully and communicating with landlord, both in on behalf of the tenant benefit as well as the landlord benefit. And normally obviously a letting agent charges a fee cost to the landlord itself. So now, as I shared those 5 topics, I want to talk to you about how you can then have a conversation with the letting agent while you're trying to secure in that that specific property, and working alongside the wording that the letting agents understand. So when you're saying, oh hey, I'm looking forward to getting a rent-to-rent service accommodation property, you could start saying, hey, you manage a property for the landlord, and we would want to come as a part of your team as a company let. Using kind of similar wording to what the agent understands always help them really understand what you're doing, and secondly, they would look you as much more professional people. Like for example, rent. Oh, by the way, you've agreed a rent collection with the landlord, and I'm more than confident that we're happy to pay you on rent on a certain time, and in some months we would be able to pay you a little bit upfront too. Don't promise them anything high, but if you're having that same conversation of how they've sold their service to their landlord, but you're also using those terms to sell your services, then you're in a lot more better position than a normal tenant. So you can see why this 5 points can be relatable to what you're currently doing and how you're going to communicate with the letting agents too. Now, personally for me, in the UK at the moment, obviously there's different letting agents around the UK doing different services. Some used to only do rent collection, some used to do partial management, some used to only do tenant finding, and some do the full package services. They all go from anywhere between 7.5% to 15%, even 20% on management fee. Now, personally, the reason why I'm making this video is when I got, my journey was, one day a landlord came to the industry, to our location, and went, "Hey Piers, I've got this block I want to sell, but for now, for a year, I just need it to be managed as a rental." And I said to him, "Look, there's no way you only want to put a tenant for a year where there's going to be guaranteed a bit of wear and tear. Obviously, then it's a churn of clients. We do not want to put a tenant unhappy for a year only, because then that way you've got to have that conversation with the tenant saying, oh, this is only for a year. A family might not like it. They, sometimes people rent for years." We were quite lucky in that case that we then offered a personal management service based on short-term rental, because I was educated around it. I had just been introduced to the industry regarding short-term rental. I had a massive client at that point who used to always contact me, and this is the thing with bigger management, Airbnb management and short-term rental property companies. They used to work with letting agents, especially independent letting agent like us, where we had the opportunity of giving them the first priority. So, if I got a property that I knew that would perfectly fit for them, I'll just call them and say, "Hey Sean, I've got this property ready to go. Do you want to take it?" And eventually we've got an opportunity to run it as a short-term rental management, and that's where it all started. The landlord was making amazing money. We were one of the first very block in that investment area, which allowed landlord to achieve extremely high rental for that short space of time. And at the end of that, he then managed to sell that block. Now, you see how letting agents right now are not being clever enough. This is my biggest thing right now for every single letting agent in the industry, is they're not allowing themselves to get that extra product, which is gonna solve the main problem for their clients and themselves, and secondly, there's much more money. So what we charged was absolutely different to what we did in a standard letting, and it allowed us to achieve a lot more income for the business. And that is something that I don't personally think that letting agent right now are doing it, again, on the benefit of us short-term rental owners, people like yourself who's looking to secure a first unit. It's going to help you to have that conversation with letting agents. Now, I do want to ask you two questions really. Have you ever considered opening a letting agent yourself, which then allows you to attract those letting landlords to your business? And then a part of letting agent could be, oh hey, we do offer a short-term rental management on the first service, which is being a letting agent. Now, a lot of time I think that is something that a lot of people in the industry haven't thought. I have personally worked with one client in Cambridge right now who are a letting agent and currently are using some of their property as a short-term rental. We're quite fortunate to work with them and actually show them how, yes, there is a possibility around growing their business by adding the extra service. And today, actually, I want to share you this information because working with us last week, we completed the boost, and last week on Friday, we landed them the biggest booking ever. It's probably one of our biggest booking via Airbnb, and I'm going to put the screenshot now for you. So guys, there's exciting things happening in the business right now for us as a part of Airbnb. You can see, look, anything I share right now is what's just happened last week even 24 hours ago for some of our clients. And our videos, I genuinely think there's loads of people who watch right now. I get loads of DMs, Facebook, Instagram, and a lot of time we talk about how they've watched my videos, they've educated themselves, and they've even gone and got themselves a property. My biggest thing for anyone starting a short-term rental is please understand there's a lot more opportunities out there than you think, and as long as you've educated yourself in the right way, you'll be able to find those deals in no matter of time. So guys, thank you so much for watching another Grow Your Airbnb video. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe and share, and we'll be back with another video soon.